Now, in my view, friends, it is we all are valuation professionals. तो मेरे ख्याल से सबसे पहली चीज़ तो ये है कि every one of us who is already practicing as a valuation professional must ensure that he goes through this valuer's bill from the first page to the last page. Why? प्लीज रिमेंबर, दिस इज ये हमारा भाग्य है, ये बिल नहीं है। ये वैल्यूअर्स का बिल जो बिल नहीं है, ये हमारा भाग्य है। दिस इज आवर फ्यूचर एंड दैट इज वाई इट इज आवर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी दैट वी go through this document and find out as to what has been incorporated in this, what has been incorporated in this bill by the government. Why? Because if we don't bring it out to the notice of the government at this point in time, then tomorrow once it becomes a law, and that time if you feel that this should not be done, this should not have been done, or that should not have been done, we will not have a moral right to raise an objection. So today we should do that, and I would very strongly recommend every valuer in this country who is already practicing the valuation or who wishes to be a valuer going forward, because I know under the valuation rules a lot of us are preparing for the evaluation exam. So even if you are preparing for the exam, please go through these this draft bill, and any suggestion that you have, please write it to the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. It is so easy, so comfortable. You just need to go to the website of the MCA, and it is all user friendly. Put your suggestions there. Why? Because more the suggestions that the MCA receives from all of us, more they will appreciate that the valuers community in this country is really maturing, and they cannot be taken for granted, and their rights and obligations have to be well defined in a way so that the implementability of these should not be a problem tomorrow. So this is what the recommendation that I will make to every one of you. Please do that without any exception. It's just a matter of one day, and believe me, it will really be enlightening to you, and I can tell you it will also boost your confidence, because your understanding of the law will have improved, enhanced, and that would give you a cutting edge as well. Then friends, what I realized that the tone of the bill is negative. तो मैंने जब उसको पूरा बिल को पढ़ा तो मुझे ऐसा लगा कि इसकी ड्राफ्टिंग में the way it has been worded, it looks like the people who have drafted this law, they have a feeling that the valuers are going to indulge in all kind of wrong activities, and it is not so. Valuers are going to do a tremendous work in helping the corporates in taking the decisions. But that is not figuring, because the kind of penalties have been is spoken about in the bill, the investigation, the inspection, the regulation, the way it has been drafted, it looks less to be a bill for the valuation. It looks more to be a bill for economic offenses. Now, this all these recommendations that I am discussing with you, that I am sharing with you, all my observations, I have already shared with the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, highlighting all these aspects, that it looks to be more of a economic offense bill rather than a valuation bill. In my view, this bill should be more proactive. This should be more progressive, because the valuers are going to help the corporates and the business in this country take right decisions, take well-informed decisions, and therefore that should have been appreciated rather than looking them at a magnifying glass with a doubt of glass, feeling that they would be doing something wrong. And then one thing which needs to be highlighted, and that is the focus on the corporate governance and business ethics. Now, you would have noticed all the laws that we see being pronounced in this country in last few years, the focus is always on the corporate governance. The focus is always on the business ethics, and it should be also. It should be also. But when you read this particular piece of draft legislation, you do not get that feel that the focus is on corporate governance, the focus is on business ethics. That is not reflecting, and that is what I think should be incorporated. And therefore I have suggested already that the bill should start with the first object, with a clause. You can refer it as object clause, or you can refer it as the preamble to the law, whereby it should be very clearly mentioned that this is the purpose of the valuation bill, this is the objective this bill is aimed to achieve. And why is that so? And I would like to give you an example. Why is that so? Because the place that we are going, this bill is a roadmap. This bill is a roadmap.
डॉक्टर क्लिनिक बैठे हैं हाँ घूम चावल करें सब हाँ तो फिर तुम ऊपर चली गए
Arjun, can you please mute yourself?
हाँ हाँ तब 11 बजे बोले ना कि कितना बजे बोले ना हम लोग कहते रात में कितने बजे चल गया
Please mute yourself. Please mute yourself. Okay. Arun Singh, your microphone was on, so please ensure that you always keep it in the mute position. What my suggestion is that it should have a preamble, and that preamble should mention as to what this bill is aimed to achieve, and that is to promote the profession of the business valuation in this country. And why promote profession of business valuation in this country? So as to ensure that the decision making by the corporates in this country is much better, so that the value creation by the corporates in this country is much better. And that is what I thought should be brought out as part of the preamble. Then I would come to the general observations. And as you can see on your screen, the first general observation is, as I mentioned, there should be a preamble or there should be an object clause in the law itself, as I mentioned. Then the number two, if you see, this bill is named as Valuers Bill. Now, अगर आप सोचेंगे तो आपको ध्यान में आएगा, you will realize the Valuers Bill does not make any sense. So the bill has to be named well. The act has to be titled well. So instead of saying it merely Valuers Act 2020, I think it would be much better to name it as the Business Valuation Profession Act 2020 or Valuation Profession Development and Regulation Act 2020. Now that, in my view, would be much better a name, because see, all said and done, names makes a lot of difference. And I would like to give you an example here of the Insolvency Code. Now the code is referred as Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. Unfortunately, the intent with which it was brought out was to remove the insolvency and remove the bankruptcy in this country. But the bill has been named as Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. So therefore, everybody seems to be focusing on the insolvency and bankruptcy, and that is why there is a less resolution of the insolvency happening than what was expected. So the ideal name should have been Insolvency and Bankruptcy Resolution Act. So that everybody would remember, bhai, the objective of this law is not to increase litigation. The objective is of this law is not to create more confusion. The objective is of this law is to remove insolvency. That should have been part of the act also in the very beginning. In the very beginning, there must have been a clause, and that clause should have highlighted the objective of the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Resolution Act is to achieve the following. And that would have been much better, because then the attention of the people can be drawn even while the litigation is going on. The appearings are happening in the NCLT or NCLAT or Supreme Court or the High Court. At that time, the people can draw the attention. Sir, the objective of this law is not to increase litigation. The objective of this law is to remove the insolvency, remove the bankruptcy, and which is clearly mentioned in the preamble of the act. Now, it has not been done in the insolvency code. We cannot do much about it, but we can learn lessons from such things. And therefore, I have suggested that they must have a clause of preamble and object clause, and they should also name it correctly. Don't name it Valuers Act. Doesn't sound. It sounds very phony. It should be more बजर लगना चाहिए. ऐसा लगना चाहिए कि हाँ वाकई में कुछ दमदार लॉ है. एंड उसके लिए दी बिजनेस वैल्यूएशन प्रोफेशन एक्ट 2020, और इट कैन बी वैल्यूएशन प्रोफेशन डेवलपमेंट एंड रेगुलेशन एक्ट, विच इज ऑल्सो परफेक्टली फाइन. You can think of any other name. The only thing is the name must communicate as to what this law incorporates. That is important. And therefore, thereafter, friends, the third general observation that I have made is, if you see it, the valuation professionals are referred as valuers in the draft bill, which in my view appears to be quite disrespectful. Valuers, just saying valuers, it doesn't give that respect for the job that the valuation professionals are going to perform. And therefore, I have suggested that don't call them merely valuers. Call them business valuation professionals, because you are talking about a profession, and they highlight that actually. So talk about the business valuation professionals. It gives more respect. The respect is there in the name itself. The number 4 that I have spoken about, there is a mention of an institute in the draft bill, and which is National Institute of Valuers. Again, friends, in my view, what needs to be done is the name has to be correctly reflected. So I have suggested that the name should be National Institute of Business Valuation Professions. That can be the name, or it can be the Institute of Business Valuation Professions of India. So let the name convey a lot of meaning and respect. That is the 4th suggestion that I have done in the general category. And then, friends, I would like to, I'm sure all of you must have gone through the draft bill, and you would see the sequencing of the content of the bill are not in sync with the objective for which the bill is being brought out. So I would just like to tell you very quickly as to how does it start. It starts from the part 1 which is preliminary, then part 2 which is Institute of Valuers, then you have under the Institute of as Valuers, you have Governing Council, Valuation Standards, Central Government, and so on and so forth. And you have investigation coming first, you have inspection coming first, you have regulation coming first, and you have valuation profession coming in the end. Now that again, in my view, is not the right way of sequencing it, because if the bill is for the purpose of promotion of the valuation profession, then highlight must be on the valuation profession, and therefore bring it forward. And that is how this is. You can see it on the screen. This is how I have suggested. So start with the preliminary, then go to the National Institute of Valuers, perfectly fine, and then you come to the valuation services, which is the heart of the valuation bill. and I'm calling today as a valuation bill because today it is named as a valuation bill, but I would like to call it as the Development of Business Valuation Professions Act or something of that sort. And then you have discharge of functions of institute, and then you will have, and that's where you will talk about the regulation, inspection, investigation, adjudication, and then in chapter 5 you talk about offenses and penalties. So this would be much better logical sequence. This is what I have suggested, and I thought to also share with all of you. Now let us go to the one more suggestion that I have made, and that is provision for oath taking by the valuation professionals. See, we have the insolvency valuation professionals profession already in this country, but there is no provision for an oath to be taken by an insolvency professional. Now, I would feel that when you are going to practice as a professional, oath is something that you must take before you enter into the profession. And that oath has to be very sacred, because remember, profession means responsibility, profession means obligation, professional means duties, professional means responsibilities, and therefore a person has to take an oath that I am becoming a valuation professional, and as a valuation professional I take an oath that I will adhere to the highest of these standards and practices as far as business ethics are concerned. I will not do anything which is contrary to the whole purpose of the business profession in this country. Something of that sort can be drafted, and oath should be taken. Remember, the oath is a mental programming. And remember, all said and done, whatever we do in life is all a matter of how we are programmed. That oath will help us to get programmed. Oath will help us to become more aware as to what our duties and obligations and responsibilities are as a business professional. So these are the friends is general observations which I have suggested. And now I will come to the specific clause by suggestions, and I will take them one by one. They are all in all put together 39 of them. So we start the first one, and you can see on the screen it is very clear. So we start with the part number and chapter number, and then we talk about the section, and then we talk about the section heading wherever it is necessary. Otherwise we come directly to the comments. So when it comes to the part section 1 subsection 1, as you can see, what I have already discussed with you, the title of the act can be the Business Valuation Profession Act 2020, or it can be Valuation Profession Development and Regulation Act 2020. So this is what is the suggestion. The number 2, section 1 subsection 11, why not to include other entities such as societies, etc. They too require valuation. So if you look at section 1 subsection 11, lot of entities, the company has been the act is today applicable to a company, but remember, other business entities under different other statute also do require valuation, and therefore I have suggested why not to also include the other statutes as well as part of this act only, because this act, this valuers bill that we are talking about, or the valuation act that we are talking about, is not merely for the Companies Act. It is one document which should be a universal document, and it should take care of all the valuation requirements in this country, and therefore I have suggested that include the other entities also under other different statute for the purpose of this act, so that the scope of this bill will be expanded. Otherwise, once this bill is passed, again you either do the amendment or you bring out another law. So multiplicity of law should be avoided. So this is the suggestion number with regard to section 1 subsection 11. Then subsection 13 of subsection 1, as I mentioned already, I am suggesting that the name of the institute should be made little more communicative, little more effective, little more forceful, and that is what you can see on the screen, and I have discussed that also with you. Then you have subsection 1 and subsection 16, and it talks about fit and proper person. This is something I'm sure, friends, it is really very challenging in today's times. Efficient technology word. This is how. Uh, okay. Now this is actually section 17, not 16. So I'm just going to change it here. And what the bill is talking about? Bill is talking about the educational program, where in one case it is suggesting a valuation program for 2 years in case if you are already a graduate, and in case if you are not a graduate, then it is suggesting a duration of 4 years for the evaluation program. In my experience, friends, and I'm sure you also would think it that way, once you have a requisite experience and once you have a requisite qualification, after that, spending 2 years to learn the evaluation, I think will be too much of a time. So therefore 1 year should be sufficient. As a matter of fact, the focus should be how to minimize the time so that the person has got more time available to use it and practice it rather than spending. So अगर आप 2 साल का करोगे और 2 घंटे 3 घंटे क्लास रखोगे पर डे, so obviously 2 क्या 3 साल भी करोगे तो भी नहीं होगा. But if you make it 1 year and have longer classes, because profession needs commitment, profession needs dedication, profession needs devotion, and that is what should be brought out in the very beginning. So I'm suggesting that the period can be 1 year. And as regards section 225, which is the national valuation program, I am suggesting that a period of since it's a graduation program, the period of 3 years would be enough, and in those 3 years I'm sure a person will be able to learn each and every aspect of the evaluation as far as theory is concerned, and therefore he would say 1 year. And remember, 1 year in the life of a person is quite a lot, I'm slightly deviating, but I like to mention here that there is a need today in the whole country that the time duration of all the courses which are conducted in this country need to be reviewed, because those schedules, those durations were fixed 30 40 50 70 50 70 years back. Things have changed, so if you can cut down on the time, then why not? So now that we are starting the evaluation program as part of this new act, I think right from the very beginning 3 years should be good enough. The section 2 subsection 30 talks about the part-time member. Now part-time member, really speaking, is kind of non-executive director. When I was going through the draft bill, I realized that there is more than enough work for anybody supposed to be the so-called part-time member. And therefore I have recommended that don't go for the part-time member, go for the full-time member, because if you want a full job to be done, have a full-time person. If you want half job to be done, have a part-time person. And therefore the quantum of work is quite large. So my recommendation is that the lawmakers should go for not part-time member, go for full-time member, because then they can devote more time, and the decision making, implementation, execution can be much faster, which is in the interest of the profession. Then in section 2 subsection 52 talks about valuation services. Now first of all, I would like to compliment the people who have drafted this bill, because they really have very comprehensively defined the valuation services, which of course is also the need of the hour. And which means many of us had this concern कि आज की तारीख में today क्या होता है, income tax will not recognize the registered valuer, income tax will not recognize the chartered accountant also, income tax will only recognize a merchant banker, and that merchant banker may not have any understanding of the valuation whatsoever. That merchant banker will go to some chartered accountant, some cost accountant, some company secretary, get the valuation done from him, put his stamp and give it to the income tax department. Now all these anomalies need to be removed. When it is valuation, the professional, the valuation professional has to be one which is from one single statute and which is under this. And therefore I'm sure those of you have gone through, if you go through section 2 subsection 52, you would realize all the acts under which there may be a need for something to be valued has been duly incorporated in this statute, including the FEMA, RBI, SEBI, income tax, and every other law that you can think of. So my compliments and on that front. Now we come to the section 3 subsection 1, which I have discussed with you already, which is about naming the institute that the law has envisaged, and as this discussed with you already. Now then section 9 subsection 2 talks about the returns and the reports to be filed by the institute, and it gives a period of 290 days for this purpose. Now this in my view is a extremely long period. In today's times of the high tech, why should there be a need for an annual return or report to be filed in 290 days? And therefore I have suggested a time period of 120 days should be good enough. Then we come to part 2 of chapter 1 and section 11 subsection 2 clause B, promoting competition in the market for educational courses and valuation services. Now this is the clause that you read under section 11 subsection 2 clause B, promoting competition in the market for educational courses and valuation services. Now this in my view is a good thought indeed. However, will this really be feasible and how will it achieve? So will the Institute of Valuation does it really have to promote the competition as far as the education is concerned, or it is out of the ambit of the Institute of Valuation profession? So this is what I thought that they need to look at. They would certainly need to ensure that the quality of education for valuation is of the highest standard, but not in general. I hope they don't mean it that way in any case. Clause 11, section 11, subsection 4, clause D, the requirement for continuing professional education for members. Now friends, यहाँ पर मेरा कुछ जो thought process है वो थोड़ा different है, because we have seen, we are members of different institutes in this country, and all those institutes do have the practice of CPE hours, and we know, we are aware as to what happens in case of those CPE hours. Now if really you ask me, see, you cannot force anyone to undergo a training program. And if you force by way of something like CP hours, people will involve themselves into all ways and means to find out as to how to circumvent that. So, but at the same time, it is absolutely necessary that a professional keeps himself continuously updated on a continuous basis. And for that, instead of CPE hours, my suggestion is have an annual examination. You can keep the passing standard low, or you can ensure that there are the minimum course is prescribed. So this way, people will appear for this exam, and you can give them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 opportunities and before you do the renewal. So this is something of this kind can be thought of instead of doing merely CPE hours, because many times, let us be frank and honest about it, many times I have seen people go and attend the program only because they have a compulsion of CPE hours. Now it doesn't really serve the purpose. Person should feel from within the need for attending the program. So therefore it would be much better to have an exam annually, keep the passing standard as 40-45%, give them 3-4 opportunities, but this way at least, and in that one particular year, whatever, let's say for example we are in now 2020, so in 1919, whatever new changes would have happened in the different laws applicable to the valuers, let that be the course curriculum. Let that be the basis for the exam. Let that be given to the students in advance. This is the course curriculum that you have to prepare. I think that would serve a better purpose. This is my view, and we of course can have a different thoughts on that. Section 11, subsection 4, clause F, the specific classes of persons to whom services may be provided at concessional rates or for no remuneration by members. I'm not really sure as to how fair it will be to force something gratis on the valuation. How will it be fair to force the professional to render the services without fees or at a concessional rate? Request can be done, but making it a law, I don't think would be fair in my view, and this is what I thought. Part 2, Chapter 2, Section 19, Subsection 1, it talks about audit committee. Now, this audit committee comprises of part-time members. Remember, audit committee for a company and audit committee for an institute like what we are talking about, there is a big difference. There's a big difference. In case of an audit committee of a corporate, of a company, a member can be a non-executive director. Is perfectly fine, because the expectations from him are of different kind. But the audit committee of an institute like this, I think should have a full-time member. A full-time member, because then he would be able to add more value, and then the audit committee would be much more effective. Then you have the part 2, chapter 3, section 21 talks about the valuation standards committee. So there is a mention about the valuation standards committee, but not much is spoken at this point in time, because for the obvious reasons, everything has to be put in place. I would feel that when we already have the Institute of Chartered Accountants, which has already brought out the valuation standards, why to reinvent the wheel once again? Why not to align or realign with the standards that have already been brought out by an institute, which is a professional institute? Because this way you reduce the work and you speed up the things. So this is what is my suggestion, because simply the valuation standards brought out by the Institute of Chartered Accountants can be adopted. At the most, the institute created under the valuation bill, they can have a representation on the valuation committee of ICAI, but to minimize the efforts and maximize the result, this is what is my suggestion and recommendation. Then there is a provision under section 21, subsection 2, clause E, for eminent citizens as nominated by the central government to be the member of this committee. Now, if this word eminent is further supported, eminent from the profession, eminent from the industry, eminent from the economy, it will be much more better. Merely having 4 members who are just eminent, have no understanding, no knowledge, no awareness of the valuation as a profession, I am not sure what value they will make to the deliberations of the committee. And therefore, I think there has to be some specific mention as to these eminent people will be drawn from the industry, will be drawn from the academia, will be drawn from the economy, and things like that. Then in part 3, chapter 1, section 25, subsection 3, power to make regulations. Now friends, ये आप इसको जरूर देखिए. This is what you should really have a look at it actually. There are 68 clauses, sub clauses, AA, AAA, and like that, with very small fine print, on which the institute will be authorized to make regulations. Now, in my view, there is no need to mention 68 such sub-clauses as part of the scope for the regulations to be made by the institute. The institute is being created under the statute, so the statute can give the power to the institute for making any regulation on any subject, on any topic which is in the interest of the promotion of the profession or regulation of the profession in the country. I think that will be good enough, because if you look at those 68 lines, I'm sure those lines will always remain there, and every time you want to find out as to what it is, you will spend about 10-15 minutes just to find out, so you can save time. So just remove those 68 lines, just make a blanket authority. Any area where the profession has to be regulated, the institute will have the power to make regulations. Part 3, Chapter 1, Section 26 talks about the public consultations, which of course is a standard practice, good practice, and which is appreciated. Part 3, Chapter 1, Section 26, Subsection 1, Clause D, an economic analysis of the proposed regulation. Now this is what the draft bill says, that any proposed regulation, उसकी economic analysis करी जाएगी. Now I'm not really sure as to how will you do the economic analysis of a regulation that you are trying to bring out, number one, and number two, where is the need for doing an economic analysis of a regulation? Now whatever analysis you want to do, you do it before you bring that regulation out. You don't do the analysis after the regulation has brought out. So this is what I thought, something that can be avoided and it need not be there. Then part 3, Chapter 1, Section 31, Subsection 3, Clause B, to ascertain whether adequate internal control systems, procedures and safeguards have been established and are being followed by a service provider to fulfill its obligations under this act and regulations. Now this is something, of course, first of all, I'm sure as you would know, that the service provider will include the valuer, it will include the valuation profession or professional organization. So looks like that there is a power being given to the institute to check whether the internal control systems and procedures are there in case of a valuer, in case of a VPO, a valuation business organization. So that is what I thought, maybe stretching it too far. Okay. Part 3, Chapter 2, Section 36, Clause 10. The investigating authority may keep in its custody any record produced to it up to 6 months and thereafter shall return the same to the person. So now in case an investigation is carried out of the valuation professionals organization or of the valuation professional, so these investigating authorities or the inspecting authorities will have a right to keep the records of the service provider for a period of 6 months. Now this is something in today's world is really strange. Why do you want to keep the paper for 6 months? You want to do the investigation, you want to do the inspection, do it, finish it and give it back to the person. Because if you keep these documents with you for 6 months, you can imagine what kind of inconvenience it is going to cause to the service provider. So therefore, it is my suggestion, why put a condition of 6 months? It should be at the earliest possible. And in any case, remember, a business valuation organization is not going to manufacture any product, or registered valuer or valuation professional is not going to produce anything. What he will have, he will have a computer, he will have some softwares, or he will have some records, that's all. So if you take those, how will he perform, how will he do his job? So I thought a period of 6 months, in my view, is not required. it should be maximum 1 month, because investing authority, inspection authority should also have some obligation, should also have some responsibilities, should also have some liabilities. Why should they have the right to keep your records for 6 months and you are suffering here? And remember, whereas both of you are for the purpose of profession, you are also for the profession, he is also for the profession. If both of you are for profession, then do the things in a way so that the profession is not hampered. So therefore, maximum 1 month, the inspection or the investigation authority should have the right to keep it, push it, expedite it, finish it, and give it back. Then it will make sense. Otherwise, keeping a time record of 6 months is not going to help anyone. Then Part 3, Chapter 2, Section 41, Subsection 2, the panel shall dispose of the show cause notice within a period of 180 days from the issue of the show cause notice. 180 days. Why you want to take 180 days? It should be as early as possible. So therefore, why give such a long period? Because when you are giving long period, how it is helping? It is not helping anyone, or rather it is creating problem for the professional. It is creating problem for the service provider. So reduce it. I think the maximum time they should be allowed is 2 months. Then we are at Part 3, Chapter 2, Section 41, disposal of show cause notice, amounts of monetary penalties. Now, friends, this is what you will notice, that under the draft bill, the kind of penalties that have been mentioned are absolutely exorbitant. There are penalties of 1 crore, 3 crore, 5 crore, 10 crore. You think the valuation professionals are going to earn so much of money that they would be able to pay so huge penalty? And are they really going to commit such a huge offenses that would require such kind of penalties to be imposed? This is another area, in my view, has to be viewed with a lot of seriousness, and the penalty has to be commensurating with the offense which is committed. And as I can envisage, there is nothing of that sort that would justify a penalty of 10 crore or 5 crore. And besides, of course, there are imprisonment as well. Then Part 4, Chapter 2, Section 48, Subsection 1, Clause D, honorary valuer. Now there is a provision, you will have the associate valuer, you will have different categories of the valuer, then you will also have the honorary valuer. Incidentally, this honorary valuer does not have to have any background of valuation. I'm not really able to understand as to what purpose it is going to serve. If at all you want to give honorary membership to someone, let that gentleman at least be from the profession. Otherwise, you make somebody as an honorary valuer, he is not adding any value. So if he is not adding any value, what purpose does it really serve? So hence, in my view, it is better to avoid such a class of valuer if he is not going to add any value. Then we look at the Part 4, Chapter also 4, Section 55, registration as valuer institute. Now, when I read this particular clause, friends, what I notice is one valuer institute is appointing another valuer's institute. So it looks to be a bit confusing, which I think needs to be clarified, which I am sure this must be done. Part 5, Section 60, Subsection 1, Clause B, as I said, penalties are disproportionately high, so need to be looked at, and same is the case with Section 61. And then there is Part 5, Section 64, bar of jurisdiction. Now, what is this? There was a similar provision. Now, what is this actually? The draft bill says that High Court will not, the High Court will not have, or any court will not have a jurisdiction. So, I would remember in the IBC code also there was a provision that the High Court will not have any jurisdiction under the IBC code. Supreme Court will have the jurisdiction only when it was a question of law and not otherwise. So the IBC code was brought out with these provisions, and what happened finally? High Court is exercising its jurisdiction under the writ. And when the Reserve Bank of India on 12th February came out with that circular for the 12 companies, what those 12 companies they went to the High Court. And when the High Court was told that you do not have a jurisdiction, High Court said the Constitution provides as a jurisdiction by way of a writ. And this is how, under the IBC, High Courts have been having jurisdiction. Supreme Court also has been having a jurisdiction. Similar clause is appearing in the Valuers Bill also. Now, in my view, this needs to be viewed again. क्योंकि अगर if it is going to happen the same way as happened in case of the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, then it is better it is taken care of at this juncture only, one way or the other. So there is a clarity and there is no confusion. Friends, then we come to the there are schedules. There are 6 different schedules, and let's look at those schedules one by one. So what I'm going to do is, so they are all put together 5 schedules. So the first schedule that you have is now it is talking about, and I will just read it out. Clause 3 of first schedule, and it says a valuer shall be deemed to be guilty of professional or other misconduct if he pays or allows or agrees to pay or allows directly or indirectly any share, commission or brokerage in the fees or profit of his professional business to any person. Now see, these clauses are to be promoted as a moral responsibility rather than putting as a clause when you are not able to regulate it actually. So this is what I thought. If it cannot be regulated, why do it this way? Then the clause 8 talks about that the valuation, anybody who is practicing as a valuation professional can only practice as a valuation professional only. I think this needs clarity, because the plain reading of clause 8 of first schedule gives the impression that in case if you are practicing as a valuer, then you will not be able to practice as a chartered accountant, cost accountant or company secretary, which I am sure is not the intent of the lawmaker, but that this confusion needs to be clarified. Then you have a clause 10 in the first schedule. Does it mean any practicing will not be allowed? So this is what I have mentioned. Then in the first schedule, there seems to be a confusion at one place. It says the clause says imprisonment for a term exceeding not 6 months. I think if when I read, I feel it should be imprisonment for a term exceeding 6 months. So there seems to be absolutely the opposite meaning coming. So if it is not right, then it needs to be corrected. So friends, these are all the suggestions and my observations about the
Sir, sorry for the interruption.
Yep. So no,
Could you please share the this one's a slide?
you mean to see you want this copy?
No, actually the only first page is showing, sir.
Only
it's not flowing with your presentation.
oh. Okay, what did
You have
you?
to, I believe, reshare the screen.
All right, okay, but
We
I
can see only the first page of the presentation.
you should have told me. You should have told me in between only.
Yeah, we messaged actually. Many people are messaging in the chat.
No. Actually, क्या होता है वो when you are delivering वो शिव कुमार तो वो उस पे ध्यान जाता नहीं है मैसेज पे, तो that is the reason. But not to worry. Okay, so how do I give it to you? I can share with all.
You have to restart, I believe.
To all the participants, that will be better.
Yeah. So how do I do it?
Please mail to all the participants, because all the participants, they are registered and they can send the email ID on this.
Good.
Then that will be
So actually, what you can do, what all of you can do, all of you can send me a WhatsApp message and I will show you my number, and then I will post it. I will make a group of all of you, and then post it one time in that group, so that every one of you will receive it. I will be very happy, and I'm really sorry that you were not seeing when I was speaking out. But I hope जब मैं आपको बोल रहा था तब आप मेरे को समझ पा रहे थे ठीक तरीके से.
तो वो
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, yes.
अपने नंबर हमें बोल दीजिए.
And many are raising their hand. That's it. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, okay. So please send me a WhatsApp message individually, and I will send it to, and I will share my my WhatsApp number also, so that you can note it down. And now, so before, while I'm doing this, in case if you have any question or anything that you would like to contribute from your side, we can of course cover that as well.